I was trying to have a USSD code on one of my banks, and I tried again and again and again. They were not sending. So I went to the bank. I filled the form. I did everything. They couldn't create a code for me. And I said, I'm tired of this thing. Let me just continue with just using ATM or going to the banking hall. A week or two later, someone called me from there and said, you are Omevi Dollar. I said, yes. You have some amount of money in your account. I said, yes. They said, you are trying to open a USSD code. I said, yes. They said, we just sent you an OTP. Send it back to us. I said, hold on. You just told me a few seconds ago that I should not disclose my information to anyone. So why are you not asking me to send the code back? Said, no, you have requested. I said, no, it doesn't just sound right. I said, no, I think I prefer to come to the bank. The guy fled off.
Joining us to unpack this robust topic is Professor Ademola Ojo Emmanuel. He is the Executive Committee member of BCS Elite Chartered Manager, Chartered Fellow of the Chartered Management Institute. He is also a Fellow of the Chartered Institute for Information Technology. So glad to have you on Just Africa. All right, so let me start with the first question. Africa's digital economy is projected to be worth over $180 billion by 2025. Now, how does cybersecurity threaten this growth?
Are you talking about the threat cybersecurity is posing? We look at how foundational cybersecurity is to African digital economy. That's the best way to approach it. When it comes to protecting mobile banking, e-commerce, e-governance platforms, you have three tripods there: the e-commerce, the mobile banking, and the e-governance. Cybersecurity foundationally can affect all these.
Hello and welcome to Just Africa, the program where we explore the ideas and the strategies shaping our continent's future. Now, today we dive into a critical but often under-discussed issue: cybersecurity. As Africa races towards digital transformation, from mobile banking to e-commerce, smart cities to e-governance, our economies are becoming more connected than ever. But with opportunity comes vulnerability. Cyber attacks, data breaches, and digital fraud already cost Africa billions each year, threatening the trust in digital economy. So the big question is, can Africa achieve digital transformation and economic growth without first securing its cyberspace? This is Just Africa, reaching you live from Lagos. I am Olubide Shukoya. Of course, I have my co-anchor, Omevi Idolo. So glad to have you on Just Africa.
Good afternoon, Olumide. Good afternoon to Lagos, Nigeria, and Africa. And welcome to Just Africa on Silk News Television.
I remember there was a rumor, whether it was rumor or allegation, came out that a particular bank or financial institution, their data was breached. And there was this rumor that people should start withdrawing their money, and all. It's a popular new generational bank. And, there was panic everywhere that what's going to happen. I remember there was a time another mobile service provider started dashing people airtime. And people thought there was a breach in data. So it is actually crucial. It can cost, the breakdown of a particular company. It can cause the total collapse of a particular company if data is breached or anything that has to do with cybersecurity.
And when we talk about cybersecurity, some persons think it is only for spies in movies, think it's only for hackers in action movies. They don't know we're talking about day-to-day activities.
Yes.
Now, cybersecurity is like leaving your shop unprotected.
Yes.
Anybody can easily break in. So now, when we're talking about cybersecurity, we are talking about, like you use the financial institution as an instance.
Yes.
Your heart skips when a particular message comes from your bank,
yes,
and you did not make that transfer.
Yes.
How do you feel? As in, there is this panty. Where is this one coming from? Where is that one coming from? Where is that one coming from? But do you know that sometimes we are actually the ones that open our digital platforms, our banks, our mobile apps, our social media platforms? We're the ones that open it to those people. These days, do you know children even know their parents' password? to their phones. And of course, your banks tell you every other. In fact, any kind of social media platform, anything mobile tells you that do not disclose your password. My Olumide, if we go on and on and on and talk about this cybersecurity, I think there are so many things that people really need to learn: how to protect their privacy, how to protect their money, especially their data. Like you said, even governments, if they are not careful, people can even break in and steal people's data. Talking about that bank stuff, I don't know if you saw the video of the one that locked himself, a guy that locked himself in a particular bank, hoping that, okay, the day is gone, they've all gone home, so let me do what I need.
And do everything, and he was caught.
So a lot you really need. It's very important to talk about it now. It is very important.
It's quite scary because we have a lot of people, I wouldn't call them illiterate, but we have a lot of unbanked people who are not even aware of certain things. You get a certain message that, so something is being breached. Send a message or send a code to this particular number. You, without knowing, you do that.
See, even when they know, let me give you my personal experience. I was trying to have a USSD code on one of my banks, and I tried again and again and again. They were not sending. So I went to the bank. I filled the form. I did everything. They couldn't create a code for me. And I said, I'm tired of this thing. Let me just continue with just using ATM or going to the banking hall. A week or two later, someone called me from there and said, you are Omevi Dollar. I said, yes. You have so amount of money in your account. I said, yes. This is yes. They said, you are trying to open a USSD code. I said, yes. He said, we just sent you an OTP. Send it back to us. I said, hold on. You just told me a few seconds ago that I should not disclose my information to anyone. So why are you not asking me to send the code
back?
Said, no, you have requested. I said, no, it doesn't just sound right. I said, no, I think I prefer to come to the bank. The guy fled off. What are you trying to do? You think you're smart? I'm like, hey, this is it. So we really have to be careful. Sometimes they just send you these things, just send this number to so number, and some people ignorantly send these messages. Like you said, some know, some don't know.
No.
Have you seen the ones they tell you did not play anything, you did not drink anything, they tell you you've won 10 million naira?
That one is even, I remember one of my colleagues, his phone was hacked and the hacker started sending messages. I got the message that, I'm stranded. Can you send me so amount to this particular account? And all I just did was call me. That was the reply. Call me. Let me hear your voice.
Good.
But the person did not call. So I reached out to my friend and I found out his phone was actually hacked. It's quite interesting. You see, cybersecurity means keeping computers, networks, and data safe from hackers or damage. Now, in Africa, it is very important because more businesses and services move online, so weak protection can put the whole system at risk. Strong cybersecurity helps the digital economy grow safely. Joining us to unpack this robust topic is Professor Ademola Ojo Emmanuel. He is the Executive Committee member of BCS Elite Chartered Manager, Chartered Fellow of the Chartered Management Institute. He is also a Fellow of the Chartered Institute for Information Technology. So glad to have you on Just Africa. All right, so let me start with the first question. Africa's digital economy is projected to be worth over $180 billion by 2025. Now, how does cybersecurity threaten this growth?
Are you talking about the threat cybersecurity is posing? We look at how foundational cybersecurity is to African digital economy. That's the best way to approach it. When it comes to protecting mobile banking, e-commerce, e-governance platforms, you have three tripods there: the e-commerce, the mobile banking, and the e-governance. Cybersecurity foundationally can affect all this. Last year, for example, 2023, you have that record, $4 billion to cybercrime. And in 2024, you have an expansion of that by another 10%, which make it growing over $4 billion lost to cybercrime. So the issue here is that trust in digital systems is essential to growth globally and specifically when it comes to African economy. So you look at the law like Nigerian Cybercrime Act and that of data protection from Kenya. So when you look at that, when you're talking about impact, you want to look at the education. The expert in the studio there mentioned how we should get involved with grassroots education of those who are not as privileged as those who are in the urban area. So education is key. Africa must train thousands of cyber professionals. That has been the advocacy over the years that in Africa we have huge economy. Then as we are digitizing, we need more cyber security professionals. So in the area of digital forensic, in the area of IT governance, and also the issue of public and private partnership, we should focus more on that so that we can build resilience. You boost it through artificial intelligence, you secure the cloud, and trying to coordinate threat response. Because when you're talking about impact of cybersecurity, it's an holistic issue. So, as you know, that cybersecurity attracts huge foreign investment, then securing the place is vital. Digital trade, we must balance rapid tech adoption. When we do all this, then the impact will minimize. So the next decade, as I used to say, and I'm saying it again, is in the hand of African youth so that we can localize solutions, cybersecurity solutions, indigenously that are across the African space. So it's a huge topic when talking about the impact of cybersecurity on the African economy.
So, do you think? I mean, I said earlier on, over 180 billion dollars has been lost due to cybersecurity. So, do you think our policymakers fully have the grasp of the scale of this threat?
Apparently, the economy, the digital economy, is estimated around in Africa $180 billion. That's the digital economy. And when you are not tapping into it, it's synonymous to losing it. And that's why you have to strengthen the cybersecurity framework. For example, the law, the privacy law, is there. I just mentioned the cybercrime framework Nigeria put together and that of data protection that Kenya put together. The law was there, but we are very weak in enforcing those laws. Again, the vulnerability, when I'm talking about vulnerability, is so enormous. There are a lot of gaps that hackers, the dark hackers, because we also have ethical hackers, people who are the good guys on the other side of the game. Why the bad guys, they have huge gap to exploit. That's what I was talking about when you talk about the securing the cloud. Even the threat, you're talking about the threat modeling kind of something. Let the government bring the policies and let businesses bring innovation. This public-private partnership will come up with the solutions. At this point, the economy is huge. When you are not accessing it, it's synonymous to losing it. That's why I have to do a kind of micro landscaping of the impact of cybersecurity in our continent.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prof. Before we continue and move on to the aspects of the economy and government policies, I want to ask, the layman on the road may not understand the word cybersecurity. And I know when we talk about it, it involves every citizen of the country and every African out there, whether you're in the rural area, whether you're selling at a road, or whether you are a technician, you're a bricklayer, whatever it is that you are. Can you break it down to the layman's level, what cybersecurity means, so they can understand what you're talking about?
Thank you very much. As I used to say, cybersecurity means whatever is available to you to protect. So it's foundational. Do you need to protect your finances? Then cybersecurity is there. is foundational. Do you need to protect your identity? Then you're talking about cybersecurity. You need to protect whom you are, what you have labored for, and going forward, anything that you need to protect, then is cybersecurity. In other words, cybersecurity is not just a firewall. Cybersecurity, it is a foundation for trust. How can you trust what you cannot protect? So, for example, when you're talking about corruption within the financial system or within governance, it's because we are afraid to protect trust, then the gaps are there to exploit. And whatever you need to protect, simply call it, in digital age, call it cybersecurity. You need to protect prosperity, cybersecurity. Continental resilience, cybersecurity. So my layman and technical way of defining cybersecurity is that wherever or whatsoever you need to protect for your own good, for your own future, for your own fortification, is cybersecurity. So you keep on looking at it from that angle, then you begin to expand on that definition to maybe to economy, maybe to education. What am I saying? You see, we are now moving away. Nobody should be telling us now that the battle is in the space. If you look at what is happening now, for example, in Estonia, for example, they are talking hugely on when it comes to e-governance, cybersecurity. Israel, you talk about innovation, cybersecurity. Singapore, in Singapore, you talk about strategy, cybersecurity. Now, even when you triangulate those three, that is, the innovation, the strategy, and the way you want to go about it, you are also talking about cybersecurity. So it's purely backbone of digital transformation. So without trust in digital system, innovation will stall. So whatever can stall your innovation is cybersecurity. Now, in financial language, you talk about financial inclusion. If it will falter, anything that will make it falter is cybersecurity. So you need to look at it. What can I do so that my financial inclusion will not falter? Talking about cybersecurity.
I know you've also talked about government policies, and we're also talking about the business aspect of it. In Africa, the other part of the world see us as people who can break into anything when it comes to internet. In quote, Yahoo Yahoo. Because so many youth they've toyed that line and they've done so many vices. Just as my co-host said here. How can we put things in place to ensure that investors can trust us again? Like you said, how do you put money into something you do not trust? So what do we need to do to see how investors can come in, can come back to the continent? And again, before you even answer that, have you seen any company, any investors that has left the country, Nigeria as an instance, due to cybersecurity?
You need to look at the fact that let's respond to how vulnerable is Africa financial sector, for example, to cybercrime. I've written a lot of articles in this area, given the mobile banking. Take note, and fintech, the more you try to digitize, the more you expand your digital transformation space, the more vulnerable you become. And that's why you must continue to fortify your three things. I say your three things. Those three gaps. Legislative enforcement. The law exists. Truly, the law exists. But implementation in Africa is weak. Take note of that. The second one is human capital. We don't even have enough trained cybersecurity professionals. What is our budget across Africa? The budget on digital transformations is not even up to 2% across the African space. So legislative enforcement will be very strong. Secondly, human capital. Let's have critical production, mass production of experts in cyber security. Again, we need to do what we call cross-border coordination. Cyber threats are transnational. Somebody can be in Kenya and hack into something in California, for example, or you are in Nigeria, Yaba, you can hack into a website in Adelaide, in Australia. So it's purely transnational. Yet our defense remains fragmented. So we need to bring the defense robustly together. So what A is doing, B must know, and what one is doing, 2 or 3 thereabout, before you get to the 9, must also know. We must stop fragmenting our solutions. Also, we need to localize our cybersecurity solutions framework. Our cybersecurity essential must be built on what we use, on what we have access to, on what we want to communicate, or what we want to do. In other words, let me quickly summarize this. We need to strengthen our legislative enforcement, that is the law that exists. Implementation must be very strong, must be commensurate with, and a step always above these hackers or those who are the cyber. I wrote an article recently about who is in the driving seat now. So is it the board? Is it the government? Or is it the cybersecurity professionals? Or is it the cyber crimes? You know that they are all struggling. There is a warfare there. So you need to strengthen the law enforcement. Secondly, let there be critical mass production of cybersecurity experts. Let our youth be motivated right from secondary and tertiary educations. We produce human capital in this area, cyber professionals. And let there be robust cross-border coordination, securing our cloud, securing our critical national infrastructures, knowing that cyber threats are indeed transnational. And then our defense must stop being fragmented. Let's see, I know NITDA and they have privacy law and so on and so forth. We must now have a cross-border coordination of all these things before we can be talking about, ensuring the trust, robust trust and resilience within our digital system.
I like where you are tilting to border collaboration. So my question now is, how crucial is regional collaboration, through the African Union or ECOWAS in defending our digital infrastructure? And what are the steps needed to be taken at this point?
Thank you. Very good question. So I've mentioned it before. We talk about the public-private partnership needs to be strengthened across the West Africa or across Africa so that we can achieve what we call African digital resilience. What am I saying? We must bridge gap. You see, we must bridge gap between our policy. For example, the cybersecurity framework in Nigeria based on policy must also look for a way to mirror that in Kenya, or that one in Kenya, or the one in Ghana, mirror that one in Uganda, and so on and so forth. You must, in other words, government must bring the policy. That's what I'm trying to say here. And those policies must be easy to practice. There's a way you call it, you cough it out, you work on policy based on the need of your people, and government bring diverse working regulation. Businesses must also bring what we call innovation. Businesses must be on top. Now, for example, if you look at most of the website, if you do even simple testing on website of some of the businesses in Nigeria, including banks, you will notice a lot of bugs confirming to you that they are vulnerable. So businesses must invest hugely in innovation. Government must invest expertise in regulations and policy. Policy must mirror. What am I trying to say here? I'm saying that together we do what we call co-develop threat detection system. You co-develop it. You don't do it in isolation. You share cyber intelligence. You see, as you share natural traditional intelligence, you also share what we call cyber, because the battle is in this is in the space, is in the cyber. So you share cyber intelligence, you fund cyber security incubators. Even before it happens, you do a lot of cyber incubation processes within the, in other words, you have a lot of cybersecurity hubs within countries and regions, and you can build what we call national cyber response centers. If you are following me, as the first professor of cybersecurity and information technology in Nigeria, and the first professor of African descent to be a charter manager, I have been advocating, and I'm still advocating for that. For example, in Nigeria, we have 774 local government. What is stopping us in having 774 cyber hubs or cyber incubators? In other words, domicile one incubator in one local government. You generate jobs, you fortify your system, your resilience will become more robust, you localize your strategies, and by so doing, you become players, you begin to export cybersecurity solutions. Instead of relying on importing expertise, you export the solutions. This is the way to look at it. In other words, my response is collaboration, proactively, collaboration, non-reactive, but proactively. You are anticipating solutions. You must anticipate threats before they strike. If you don't do that, you are going nowhere. Before you do that, you keep on losing money. As I said before, the economy is $180 billion for us here in Africa. We are sitting on. Invariably, we are losing it. In 2023, we lost $40 billion to cybercrime. In 2024, just last year, that expanded by another 17%. Conservatively, you say 12%, but it literally is 17% on top of the 40 billion. So we don't know what the statistics will say in 2025, but you can see the pocket of challenges, pocket of hacking elsewhere, losing, not assessing it. If you don't assess it, you are losing it. So that's why I'm saying collaborate, co-develop threat detection system, share cyber intelligence, fund cyber security incubators, build national cyber response center across the board. That's how to handle the situation robustly and for you to win and continue to win. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much, Prof. That was really educative. So you've talked about the government making policies. You've talked about creating cyber different hubs in 774 local governments. You've talked about how this will also create jobs for the youth, and you've said so many things. But I still believe that everyone, apart from the government, has a role to play, including the trader, because we are in a cashless society right now. The trader out there, those people who are, okay, let's just do easy transfer and all that, I still believe that they have a role to play in protecting their money. What can these people do?
Now, if you are talking about the grassroots solutions, all of us, as I said in my definition of cybersecurity, I said whatever you need to protect is cybersecurity coming to play. It's foundational. What you want to do nowadays, we are no longer in the age of keeping your money in your sack, or your Ghana must go and put it in your house. You are no longer doing that. We are in digital age. we must all be active participants. When come, we must, that's what I said, we must cyber secure ourselves. Let a trade woman or a trade man outside, artisan there, cyber secure whatever he needs to secure. If you're asking me what to do, number one, education. Be aware. Be aware how vulnerable you are. And that's why you keep on mentioning government. In the area of awareness, in other words, let there be people around. You don't have to be an expert to educate people on the basic need for cybersecurity. That's where to start. As I was mentioning before, when you have hub incubators in each of the local government, you are taking awareness, bottom-up approach. So individual cyber secure by knowing how vulnerable you are. If you don't know how vulnerable you are, then there's no way you can begin to seek for solutions. That's where to start from. How vulnerable we are as individual, as market woman, market man, as a fisher, as a farmer, and so on and so forth. But the bulk of the work is, as I said before, government must bring framework, regulations, and educate the citizen. Whosoever you are you educated or you are not educated? Most of these people you are talking about, they don't even have access to internet. Recently, we are talking about internet bandwidth and so on and so forth, 0.004. Even in your bank, for example, in Nigeria, even in Lagos, you are still talking about 0.04. Yeah, that is not good enough. So, but if government begin to work in that area, then you begin to make something like that, the penetration more higher, then people can have access to the awareness side, the digital trading. Are you with me? Because things are moving to digital trading now, and they are moving very fast.